Okay, so yeah, the previous class actually now we were like going through the code, okay, for while loop and do while and also for loop. Okay, so that time only exactly we stopped. Okay, let me continue from there, and then we'll continue with the oops concepts today. Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so hope you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, I'm just opening Java. Okay, so I think in the last class actually we have stopped here after the switch condition. So I think we have small example. I know it's not a big one. Okay, so I'll go with while, and yeah, this is a while loop. Okay, so as I mentioned, like while loop will be having initialization expression and the exactly where to stop. Okay, the loop, where to break it. This is the condition, and this is our the statements of the sequence of statements that can execute whenever the condition gets true. Okay, so and update the update expression means like it's kind of an incrementation. Okay, so once after the every loop. Okay, so it is going to increment the initialized number. Okay, like first time actually it is 1, second time it will be 2 and 3. So it is going to increment that with +1. Okay, when we are using I plus plus. So yeah, let's just see that what it does here. Java while loop. Yeah, it just printed that hello world in 6 times. That's it. Sorry, 5 times. Okay, so it's less than 6, right? Okay, yeah, it's 5 times. Okay, this is like while loop. Whenever where to stop, and that time actually we go with while. Okay, and yeah, let me go to the do while. Okay, it is pretty straightforward. So do while is kind of statement that you can execute all the expressions whatever you have it in the do for one time. Okay, so let's say here, if you see here, the initialization part actually we took I equals to 0, and the condition is also saying that I less than 0, then only it is going to execute it. But because of actually do. Okay, so the first line, the first iteration, actually it is going to print, and for the and it going to increment that I value by 1, and it is going to check the condition 1 less than or equals to 0. So the condition is going to get false, and it will never go up and execute anything. So that means it is going to execute the code whatever we have it inside this curly braces. So it is going to execute only one time. Okay, let us check it. Okay, Java to while loop. Yeah, see, so it actually printed only one time. Okay, so because if I change something over here, so equals to 2, and let's see now. See, it printed 2 times. Okay, so so when do you go with do, right? Do is exactly when you can use where in which scenario that you have to read something first, okay, and then decide, going with the, you know, if you want to continue the process or not. In that scenarios, actually, we go with do while loop. Okay, first we will just check it, and then the iteration will start depending on that check. Or reading a file, we can take that example. The first line will be read it first, and then you start with the iteration will start depending on the line, uh, you know the number of lines, whatever we have it. So it is going to take that iteration. So yeah, mostly do while is used in that scenarios. Okay, and the last one, like for loop. Okay, for loop is, okay, how many times that you need to iterate, and where to start. Okay, so in that scenario, actually, we go with for loop. Okay, so for loop is little different when you compare with do while and while. Okay, so for loop condition, expression, and the incremental will be on the same line. Okay, so the initialization part and the condition and the incrementation. Okay, so it does, right, for first time, actually the loop is starting with 1. Okay, and the condition going to execute 1 less than or equals to 10. Then if it is true, this it is going to print the I value, okay, to the out, to the console, and it is going back to the incrementation operator, and then it will increment the current value, and then checks the condition again. Okay, once if it is satisfied, like the second condition means I plus plus 2, 2 less than or equals to 10. Yes, that's a true statement, right? So it is going to come down and execute this system out dot println. Okay, so let's see, just so it is going to execute this statement for 10 times, and it is going to print 1 to 10 values. Okay, 1 to 10 numbers. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so it does. Hope everybody clear on this. Okay, yeah, please let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, thanks, Anurag. Okay, let me go to the next topic then. Okay, so hope everybody clear. Yeah. Okay, so these are main concepts. Okay, so oop. Okay, object oriented programming. Okay, so this is like it's not like it's a concept kind of thing. Okay, it's a methodology. Okay, in programming. Okay, which enforces everything in the form of object usage. Okay, so going forward in Java, actually, whatever you are learning, okay, you will see everything in the object oriented programming. So wherever you see something in the program, actually you find you'll see most of the program with objects. Okay, so why everything in the class, and why everything look as a object. Okay, what exactly these things. Okay, so we are going to learn them in one by one. Okay, depending in between, actually, whenever we go with the class, object, and after inheritance and polymorphism, abstraction and encapsulation. So depending on that, we'll be having very small examples to understand that. Okay, so OOP is not a big thing, but it's like the Java is completely built, okay, on this OOPS concepts, okay. So like you have to understand these things, okay. So this can be implemented whenever you write some program, or code in your organization, okay. So these things, these concepts will help you, to reduce your code, and to you know generally, we use these concepts, to reduce our writing code, okay, on different ways, okay. So I'm gonna teach you them, okay, what exactly these things, and how and where we can use it, okay, and which scenarios we use it, okay. Okay, let us start with class first, okay. What exactly the class is. Mostly you guys have already done some programming, okay, at least very basic programming with the loops and condition, and also the initial program. Okay, wherever you start something, actually you are doing with the class, okay, right. So let us consider one example of switch, okay, switch condition. So you can see there's a class, actually, in the class you have something, you created a method, public static void main, and also you have some variables, int and string, okay. So and you can see, there is kind of a logic that we are trying to execute, okay. So simply, you can say what exactly the class, okay. So it contains all the members that are used to write a program, okay. So you can treat the class as a container kind of thing, okay, which holds everything in it, okay. Then later you can use it, okay, and later you can see how the program execution is happening, okay. So you can consider for now whatever the members that you see in the class, okay. Till now, I think we did not write any methods or functions in the class, but we just stick with only the variables, and the some business logic that you wanted to execute. So those things only we were able to write it in a class, okay. But most of the things that you have written in the public static void main method, right. So let's see, what exactly this class is, okay. So what it represents when it comes to the oops, okay. So consider a class is a kind of a blueprint, okay. So what is a blueprint, okay. So it's every time when you take a class, okay, class will be having certain properties, or certain things that can enforce us, okay, let us take some example with the car, okay. When you see a car, actually, you will see some things very common in each and every car, like consider we have four tires, okay, like body shape, okay, and also we'll be having four doors or five doors, okay, including the boot, okay. So five doors, and steering, these are all the kind of a blueprint for a car. So every car that you take, okay, which will follow this blueprint, and they may be differ in the sizes, they may be differ in the 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 interior that they provide. But when it comes to the blueprint, actually everything will follow, every car company will follow the same blueprint, like four tires, same body, and like five doors and all those things, okay. So it may differ, sometimes it may differ, but yeah, most of the car things will be followed by with that blueprint. So in like in Java, when you see, everything is in the class and objects format, okay. So Java strictly follow this oops concept, okay. So let's go little deeper, okay. So as I mentioned, a class acts as a blueprint which objects are created, okay. So when you create an object of a class, okay, so it will be having the blueprint of the class, and also it can access everything from the class side. Okay, let's say you have certain methods, you have certain variables which you created inside the class. So object can utilize them, okay, because it is, it's kind of a child of a class, okay, right? Because the object has been formed. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you see here from from this blueprint, okay, we can design any type of car object which have 4 tires and a body. The properties of each object can be different. Okay. Such color, shape, and you see over here on the right side. So we have the same. This is the blueprint of our class. So, but you see a different colors. Okay, and okay, shape. Okay, but it will keep the original properties of the blueprint. Okay, so in other words, like class defines all the aspects that will have to be kept the same. Okay, like I just mentioned 2 tires, a car body, but it's kind of a 4 tires and car body. Okay, while okay, objects are real example of that class. Okay, that you see. So when you see class as a car, so you can see objects as like Honda, or these car companies, whichever it manufactures a new car. So all those things come under the objects. So the main class is having a blueprint, and objects are the real examples of that class. So hope you guys understood this, or want me to repeat. So similar, one small example, like if you see here, these are all the class. Okay, hope it is visible, but let me check. Okay. Okay, so if you see here, I just mentioned, building is a class, and dog is a class, and computer is a class. Okay, so but if you see here, there are multiple type of buildings. Okay, here also multiple type of dogs and multiple type of computers. Okay, but when you come to the instance, actually it is only one. So Empire State is the building. Okay, instance of building. Okay, and this is Lassie, instance of a dog. Okay, and this is your computer, instance of a computer. So it contains, it follows everything whatever you see in the in the class. But yeah, it is having its own, like kind of a example of that class. Okay, yeah, so I mentioned, right, like if you, when you have a class, actually you can create infinite objects of it. But I know from that blueprint, but when we have this object, okay, object will be having only one blueprint, okay, which follow the same class. Okay, but it cannot be having multiple blueprints. Okay, so that's how it does. And class and object. Okay, so hope you guys have understood this. Okay, so and I can go with some small example how we do the class and object. Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm taking as no for everybody. Okay, so please feel free to ask any question that you have. Okay, because these are the very basics things. If you understand them well, in going forward, actually we can yeah, we can have a very good things. Okay, we can understand them in future. Okay, it will be very easy to write some programs if you understand these concepts. Okay, so that's why don't hesitate to stop me. Okay, please ask your questions, and try to learn them. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, let me start with the program. Okay, one small example. Okay, so till now I think you guys have understood what exactly a class and what is an objects in Java. Okay, so how we use them, right? I just created this one public a class car. Forget about all those things that you don't know about that syntax, because I'm gonna cover them. Okay, don't worry. So for now, you see, we have created a class car. Okay, and we mentioned that there is a color white. Okay, so I have created one more class test. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, yeah. So public class test, and this class is having a main method, and now we created a car object. Okay, car object is object Mercedes. Yeah, is equal is equals to new operator, and car. Okay, so what exactly we are trying to do here, we are creating a car object. Okay, object name is object Mercedes. Okay, and we are going to use the car properties here. Okay. Okay, so we have a when you see here the string color is equals to white, you can treat it as a data member of a car. Okay, that you have access to it once you create an object of that class. Okay, so now you see this a car is the class over here, and object Mercedes is its own object of the car. Okay, so now what we are trying to do, we are just trying to utilize that object and call the method. Okay, so object dot color, sorry, not method, the property which we have it in the data member. Okay, object Mercedes dot color. So what it is going to print, actually the output is white. So that means you have now like which defines the color of the color, and what color it is. Okay, it is it you are able to access this data member using this object. Okay, so this is very small example how you create a class and how you create an object for it. So what is new operator and what is this? I'm gonna tell you when I cover the constructor. Okay. Okay. So here for now, actually just keep it aside. Okay. I'm gonna cover them when we go for constructions, sorry, constructor concept. Okay. Okay. So so before going to the next concepts, right? Like like inheritance and polymorphism and other things. Okay, so I'm gonna cover like call method or function. Okay, and there are a couple of concepts that we need to cover first, and then we'll go with the inheritance and all. Okay. Okay, so till now whatever you learn on the object oriented programming. Okay, so most probably that you will be having a class name. Okay, so these are all like very small tips. Okay, and what exactly you guys understood, like what exactly we learn about object oriented programming. It is just typically a methodology, okay, which enforces Java to follow it. Okay, so everything that you see in the Java, it is like object oriented programming. Okay, objects and classes. Okay, so now you understood what exactly the class is. Okay, so simply I can say class is kind of a blueprint, and object, it's what exactly the object it is and its purpose. Okay, you might got it like it is object is defined from that blueprint. Okay, so it contains all the properties of that blueprint, and it can have its own. Okay, so what exactly this, this is what we covered. Okay, for this one, for class and object. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, yeah, as I mentioned, I'm just going to cover a couple of them, like methods. Okay, so yeah, so if you see here, like, we have a different different type of actions that you see on the screen. Okay, so we were trying to do some kind of farming. Okay, so yeah, this task, like, what exactly you're seeing, there are a couple of tasks. So you are sowing seeds and, watering them, and also, together, what all these actions, like, all these three actions will give you some output. Okay, to achieve a single goal, which can, grow our good crops. Okay, so when all these process, okay, these three things, if it is working together, then only, we will get a good output. That means, these three things, are main part of our programming. Okay, and once everything work well, you are going to get a good plant over there. So these things have a different, different actions in it. Okay, and they are like, but but at the end of the day, even though these things are having a different actions, okay, you can still get one single output, because these are all interlinked. Okay, to, stages. Okay, so these kind of things which helps you to provide output, but it has its own individual, steps, to execute something. So these things are considered as a methods. Okay, so, which will carry out very specific operation in it, but at the end of the day, it will, all these things will combinedly give some a very good output. Okay, that you can use it, for your, for the next step. Okay, so, methods, functions, whatever you heard, all are same. Okay, so right now you can, just consider what, when I say method, okay, it is also a function which does something. Okay, so hope you guys understand, like, why, these methods are, having, if sorry, we do have different steps over here, but, it contains various operations in it. But finally, when we combine all these methods, okay, you are going to get a good plant. Okay, so that means you are going to get a good output. So when you take individually, all these things are called methods. Okay, so let me go to the next step. Okay, so what we do with these methods? Okay, we do some operations, right? Similarly, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so when you write a kind of a method, okay, so in a class, let's take, okay, so these methods are actually same for not only for, one type of plant. Okay, so it is actually same for different type of plants, right? Like, different type of farming also, we use the same things, okay, for everything, right? So that means when you create these methods, okay, in your class, so that can be reusable. Okay, anybody can reuse this, and, they don't want, they don't require to write any code over there, right? Okay, or, they don't want to, like, rewrite that code again and, make it as a duplicate, because we already have these methods defined. Then, you can reutilize them. So what my concept is, like, once you return something in the method, okay, so that can be reusable by anybody, anybody, if if you expose that as a, API, something like that, and, it can be reused in any other ways. Okay, so similarly, when you take Java also have many built-in methods. Okay, with their APIs. Okay, when what do we call this built-in methods? Okay, so I think you guys are already aware of one method that we are frequently using from day one. Okay, that is system.out.println. Okay, which is, which we got it from the Java library. And, yeah, so remember this. Okay, system.out.println. Okay, so it's a built-in method, and it is defined somewhere, okay, in the Java API libraries. And Okay, internally this println must be having performing a different operations, printing items to the screen, right? So similarly, what exactly, how you can write, certain statements, bunch of statements every time that you want to print something to the screen. Okay, so what so let's say, if we don't have println method, okay, with us. Okay, so inside the println there are a bunch of statements that it keep on executing, to write those output on the screen. Okay, so that means if you don't have this method concepts in Java, then you have to perform similar operations every time whenever you print something on the screen, right? So that is like a very big task, right? So, for that thing, actually methods provide, very basic, simple steps, okay, that you can, perform those tasks without seeing what exactly happening inside the method. Okay. So yeah, let's see, how to write a method, and, how, how you can call them. Okay, if it has some parameters, how you pass it, and whatever the return type, like, if that method is returning some output to you, so how to catch it, and, how to, get that output, and, how to print it on the screen. Those concepts will cover, to go to the next oops concepts. Okay, so let us start with, one small example. Okay, how you create, one second, let me pull down. Okay, so if you see here, yeah, so public static int name, and we have parameters. Okay, so what this is our, the main syntax of, to how to write a method. Okay, in Java. Okay, what do you see here? Public static. So these are two modifiers. Okay, and are used to define the scope of this method. Okay, for now, take it granted, like, I'll tell you what exactly, it is happening with the public, and, what exactly it is happening with the static. Okay, so I'm gonna tell them, in the next coming slides. Okay, and the next one, you see int. Okay, int is the return type of this method. Okay, so whenever you do some action, okay, which will have some output, and, you generally take that output and, keep it with you, right? So let's take, one example. When you go and deposit some money in the bank, okay, we do it online, but yeah, but when you go for a bank, and, they will give some receipt, right, to you once, the bank, once they accept your cash, and, that once they deposit into your account, right? So it is giving some kind of output to you, which is in the form of a paper. Okay, so this method, okay, this method is going to return some output. Okay, which is some return type, which is in the form of numbers, like integer type. So that's why you see an integer type over here. Okay, integer is the return type. Okay, which is specifies type of value returned by that method. Okay, so it can be a different type also, depending on your operation, what you does here. Okay, if you are doing some string operation, instead of int, you are going to add a string over here. Okay, saying that, okay, this is the operation that, it is going to return back with the string data type. Okay, so, the name is the function name, and the parameters, like, if let's say, we consider you are creating a method, which can give you an output of two integers. Okay, uh, you know doing an addition. Okay, so that means you are passing two integer values over here. So the required data, which is used inside the method, that we pass it as parameters. Okay, so this, based upon this data, actually, the method is going to perform some operations, and it is going to respond back to you with that output. Okay, so let us consider one example very quickly. Okay, the example is like writing those methods. Okay, writing performs that addition of two members. Okay, we need to pass two numbers of parameters. So how it does that, right? Okay, so let's take this example. Okay, before going to that complex one, just have given one small example with the method how we write it. Okay, so if you see here public static void hello, so you see a different one void. Now void is like, if this method is not returning anything, okay, to the call. Okay, so that means, your void, we use void over there. Okay, so it is typically printing only one line, so that, it says like you have written your first method, right? So this is like, one of the example, how to write method void return type, yeah, that we have used. It is specifies that method returns nothing. Okay, okay, let me go to the next one. Yeah, yeah, this is what I was saying. Okay, so earlier, okay, when we if you want to use something, if you want to print something, on the screen, generally we use system.out.println. Okay, not the exact steps whatever we have it in the println method, right? So it might be having so many steps in it, before printing that thing, to the screen. So it might call that console, class, and it is taking that object, it creates that console object, and it is going to start writing one by one letter into the console. So all those steps are hidden inside this method. So similarly, we can, that's why Java gave you a method called println, okay, that we can use it. Okay, okay, so till now, like what you learned, like, you just write a method with the parameters, and sorry, without a parameter. So what is the syntax of that method? So let's write one small example with that. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna write, a small program which takes some in two integers. Okay, and gives some output of that, adding those two numbers. Okay, so yeah, how you perform this? Okay, so like, you might be already aware, because the syntax is very simple. You're gonna write the modifiers, and then the return type of the method. So in here, actually, the return type would be number. Okay, that means you can take any integer data type, it, and also, it is going to have two integers, as a parameter list. Okay, so to complete the addition operation. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. Okay, this is what we were considering, right? We were like performing addition of two integers, thus its return type will be int, and we need to pass two integers as a parameter, so that an addition operation will be performed on it. So you can see it here. This is our the method of parameters. Okay, okay, next one. Okay, now what remains, like, hello. Is somebody is talking? Okay, okay, so what exactly remains? The logic, right? What the logic inside that sum method. Okay, so you are going to write this return number one plus number two. Okay, so you are just adding that value, and you are returning to the client, whoever calls it, right? So let's combine all these statements, okay, into to get one method in place. So you just told, like, public static and integer return type, and sum is your name, and it is going to take the parameters like this and return num1 plus num2. That's it. So this is our method. So which is ready for, perform some, addition. Okay, whoever calls it, it is going to, add these two values, and it is going to return back, the values for it. Okay. Okay. So till now, you guys have learned how to write method, and, like, to write some statements in it. So, but how to call it, right? Where to call it. So you are writing a program, right? So we need to call those methods, okay, to perform some kind of operations. Okay, so you are writing some calculator program, and you don't require to write some addition code again, because you already have somebody defined it, okay, somewhere. So you know that class, and you're going to take that method from it, and you can utilize it instead of rewriting those programs, right? So let's see, how to call them, right? Okay. So simple. Okay, so you how to call those methods. So you have to know its name and required parameters of it. That's it. You can call that method. Okay. Okay, let's see the next step of the concept. Okay, when you're calling a different type of different class methods. So either way, you will call it with their object, or either way, if it is a static method, you are going to call, with the class name. Okay, like, whatever you are seeing with the system dot out dot println, right? So those things actually, it is getting called with this system class. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just mentioned, like, very simple things, the parameters, you have to call it from the parenthesis. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just talking about the same thing, right? The println method. Okay, you are passing something as a parameter to that. Okay, what was the parameter that you're passing? A string. Okay, a string, which can print, exactly into the screen. That string, actually, we were passing, the println to the println method, right? So yeah, let's make a call. Okay, how you call a method. Okay, so I took a program, like, class main, and then, it has some hello method inside it. I just, added something, like some statement, it will print on the console. So in the main method, public static void main, so I'm gonna call this hello method. Okay, why I'm not using any, like, object and all, because, it is defined as public. Okay, and, it is inside the class. So if you use this hello, and then, it's going to print, the system dot out dot println, which is going to execute this statement, and it is going to print the text, whatever you have added over here, to the screen. Okay, and we can call this method multiple times or wish. Okay, anytime. So it is going to repeat the same task again and again, uh, with the same output. Okay. Okay, let us go with the addition one. Okay, so we already written that sum. If you see here, this is the parameters, and, this is a return type, and, this is the operation that we do. And I'm calling multiple times. Okay, with the, different type of values. Okay, int add equals to sum of 2 comma 4. So sum of 2 comma 4 is 6. That 6 will come and, store in this container. This container means, like, this variable. And yeah, so the sum of 3 comma 6, 9 will be coming and storing into this container add 2. So when you print these two statements, okay, when you print these two, variables, you are going to get the output as, like, 6 and 9. that you can see it over here, right? Okay, this is typically, how to write those methods, and this is what the summary that you learn. Okay, like how to write methods. Okay, those are all reusable blocks. Okay, and how to call them, you learn that. And yeah, this way actually now we are going to use these methods in each and every class. Okay, so hope you guys understand the methods concept. Okay, clearly how to write them, what exactly it does, and what are the return types and operations. Okay, thanks. Yeah, let me go to the next topic. Okay, so this is like access control modifiers. Okay, so I'll just give you a typical example. Okay, when we have some exams, okay, in at our school days, or even at the college days. Okay, so typically our parents used to stop us into one room. They will ask us to study it. Okay, just concentrate on your studies, not anything else. So they just limit our access. Okay, to like not to do anything except to study, right? So this is kind of limiting your presence to all other rooms, or to all other places within your house. Okay, so they are just restricting you into a particular room, and they are just asking us to take care of only the studies part. So something which is very related to the topic that we are going to discuss today, that is access control modifiers. Okay, so this access control modifiers are the keywords which are used to restrict the scope of the class data members, methods, or constructors. Okay, so similar way that that your parents or your mom or your dad restricted you to a room. Okay, so the same way that Java is also having certain concepts, certain things, okay, that can restrict you, restrict your program, your class or your method, or any of this a variable. Okay, it can be restricted. Okay, so the scope, right, what exactly it defines? Okay, the scope defines from where these entities can be accessed, okay, and where they cannot. So this is this is the exact definition of the scope. Okay, and if you specify these things at the classes, can access given class and its fields. Okay, so constructors and also methods. Okay, so the thing is, like whenever you specify something on the class, okay, you can still access them its own properties, like its fields and its constructors. Okay, for now, what is the constructor? Just keep it aside. I'm going to cover that in the next classes. Okay, but the main concept is the access control modifiers. So what are all they? We have it. Okay, yeah, access control modifiers. Okay, so generally we have four different types. One is default, public, and private, and protected. Okay, so these are the four things we have it. Okay, whenever you, the first one, the concept of default. Okay, how it does, right? So let's say we have a package. Okay, in that you can see class A, class B, class C. Okay, here we don't have any access specifier specified. Okay, it is not declared. Okay, so default, the Java will be considering it as a default access. Okay, default access control modifier. This is true. Okay, uh one second. Hope you guys are able to see it, right? Like I'm having a little problem with this. uh can you confirm, like you guys are able to see it properly, entire screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, okay, so when it's default, right? Okay, so let's say you don't require to specifically mention any, okay, anything like to access something in the class A to class B, and class C to class B, something like that. The same vice versa will apply for each and every class. Okay. Here, like, in the package, you can access, you can access the methods and you can use them, with creating those class objects directly in any of the classes. So this is the default scope that you see. Okay, you'll understand, like, when we start creating a package, and inside you just create class A, class B, class C, and then you try to utilize that class A properties into the class B. Okay, so it will be accessible. Okay, so that is kind of a default scope that we define. Okay, so I'll show you, like, one small example later, but not now. For now, actually, just consider this as a theory concept, and it's a default scope. Okay. Okay. So how do we, like, consider this, default scope, right? When you see something without any, before the class, actually, if you don't see anything, it can consider it as a, default scope. Okay. So that's why, the class is some class, and, it is not declared using any access specifier. Thus, its access control modifier is default always. Okay. So, the concept which I told, like, this class can be accessed in the same package only, meaning that another class in the same folder could access it, while one in a different folder could not. Okay. Yeah. So this is public. Okay. Yeah, public. So now you have two different packages, package A and package B, and you have some class A and class B, and you have some class A and class B in package B. Okay. So the public access controller modifier is accessible everywhere. Okay. In, not only the same package, it can be accessible out of the package also. Okay. So it has a very wide scope among the four access specifiers that you are seeing here. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I told, right? When you just take, the public class A, okay, that means, which is defined in the package A. So still you can use that class A, things in the class B, okay, which is in different package. Okay. So how do you write these things, right? The scope of it. Yeah. Public class, this class, okay, and public int, this number. Okay. So that means, this class is declared, using a keyword public. So its access control modifier is public now. So that means it can be accessible from anywhere. Okay. And it has a data member also, that is this number. Okay. And, it can also be accessed from anywhere. Okay. Everywhere. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so the same way. Okay, so we just mentioned, like, if it is not having this number as a public, okay, you cannot get that one, in the other, whenever you wanted to get access the content of it. Yeah, you cannot. Okay, so there is a different way that you can access it, but I'll cover them in the next slides. Okay, now private. Okay, so private is like something you can define private access modifier only within the some class. Okay, so the data members, okay, and methods declared as private or not accessible, okay, outside of the class. Okay, so they can only accessible within the class. Okay, this is the access specifier which is having very limited scope, for its you know the private. Okay, so among the four, actually, it is the very less scope it has. Okay, so if you see here, to define an entity as a private, we use keyword private. Okay, so what we are doing inside the class, we were just declaring a private int. Okay, this num equals to 10. So Okay, so when you declare it as a private, okay, you're not able to access this, outside of the class, right? The scope is very limited now, right? So how do you access them, right? And like if you want to get that, okay, so I'm gonna give some example later, but I'll consider this is only the concept that you're learning now. Okay, so the next access specifier is protected. Okay, the protected, right? The protected access control modifier, you'll be able to understand when you came across this inheritance concept. Okay, yeah, which will be covered in the next class. Okay, the class A and class B, the concept like inherits, okay, from class A to class B whenever it inherits something. Okay, so the protected is the scope, whatever you have, whatever you wanted to, let's say this class A is having a variable. Okay, you wanted to give that variable access to class B. That means you can define that variable as a protected. So when it is a protected, actually, whenever, let's say, class B inherits the class A, so that times if you see any protected variables in the class A, those variables can be used in the class B as well. Okay, so that's what I mentioned over here. Only the methods, data members, and constructors can be declared as a protected. Okay, classes cannot be declared as protected. Okay, and when you say the protected, the access control modifier is accessible within the same package as well as outside, but using only inheritance. Okay. Okay, this define an TTD, like, the same way how you create, how you use that protected keyword, okay, for a variable, okay. So this num is equals to 10 is a protected variable now. So let's say, I have a class, this two class, which extends this class, okay. Then, I will be able to access this number, okay. Otherwise, I can't, okay. Okay, so to summarize this thing, okay, so access control modifiers are four, like, public, default, and private and protected. So when no access specifier declared, okay, it is said to be have the default access modifier, okay, access control modifier. Okay, so that will be, entities having default access to the specifier are accessible within the same package. The public access control modifier is like, accessible from everywhere. Okay, the private, like, you can access that, inside the same class, okay, within the same class. Okay, the protected is kind of, used at the concept of inheritance, so it can be used in the child class. Okay, the same protected, sorry, the variable that whatever you declared, okay, with the protected can be used in the child class. Okay, this is what the concept, okay, for access specifiers. Now we are ready to go with the next concept called constructors. Okay, so I'm going to cover this constructors concept, tomorrow. Okay, for now, if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. Okay, so before covering the constructors, actually, I'm gonna give some programming examples, like, for the access modifiers, whatever we'll learn now. So I'm gonna cover this programs, like, 4 or 5 programs, how it works, and yeah, then, we can start going with the constructors tomorrow. Okay, let me know any questions today.
Hello, sir. Previously, you have shown one example car, like,
Yes.
yeah. In that, can we write a class inside another class?
Yeah,
We
we
have
can write
written
it.
those classes. We have written those classes separately, right?
Okay, so 1 second, let me go back to there. this one?
Yes.
Yeah, we can write multiple classes into one program. Okay.
So a class can contain multiple classes.
No. A program can contain multiple classes, okay, but a class cannot. Okay. So if you are going with the inner class, yes, I can say that, okay, class can contain one more class as well. But yeah, that concept is a little different. I can tell you if you want, but this one, right? I'll show you one small example. Okay, you'll be able to understand. So yeah, you can write any class, okay, but multiple classes in the same program itself. But the one which you are going to write public static void main, okay, so that class should be defined as the name of that program. Okay, so let's say I'll show you something. 1 second. Okay, so if you see here, I have this one private access. Okay, private access thing. Okay, I have one ping access bean and ping access 2. Okay, so I have these two classes over here, and some of the things are declared as a private over here, and I'm using this ping access 2 as a class, and I'm just writing some code over here, public static void main, and I'm trying to create the object of this and trying to access them. Okay, access these values. Okay, so if you see here, right, ping access 2 is one class and ping access bean is one class. Okay, so you can still write them. Okay, multiple classes. Like even I can write one more class over here. But the only thing, whenever you write the name of that program, okay, it has to be the name of the class which contains main method. Okay, you got my point, right? So whenever
Yes.
the Java compile starts, okay, so it is going to start with creating all the class objects separately, even though it is having, inside one program. Okay, so when you see, when I do that Java compile for this particular program, you will see two dat class files which will be generated. Okay, one is ping access 2 dot class and the other one is ping access bean dot class. Okay, so that's how it does. Like the question that you asked, like inside the class, yes, we can still write inside the classes. Actually, we usually write one more inner class, we can say. So yeah, it has very specific operation. I'll tell you, okay, when we cover all these constructors and everything, once you have a very good knowledge on this OOPS concept, I can cover that inner class concept, I know in coming days. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for now.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
So
Go ahead.
in one application we can have many classes, right?
Yes. Yeah, we can
So
have many classes. Yes.
so here a class acts like a blueprint. Then how does an application acts like?
Okay, so the application is little different. Okay, so let's say I'm covering with as a concept, right? To make you understand each and every class represents something. Okay, so okay, let's say if you are building some banking application. Okay, we have a very huge operations in it which have something. Okay, so in the banking you are having a different type of classes that you're going to create. So let's take, one example with mortgage. Okay. And one example with, the, what you say, consumer side, online banking and credit cards and all those things, right? So each and every application will have its own domain knowledge, right? Okay. Like when I say domain knowledge, okay, one is mortgage and the other one is like the credit cards, and the other one is in your online banking. Okay, so when you come to the mortgage is having its own blueprint. Okay, what it does, okay, mortgage means like you are going to take some loans from bank. Okay, you are going to submit some documents whatever it requires, and they are going to cross verify, they're going to verify your background check, and they verify your credit score, and if it is okay, then you are going to get your loan. So this is different, right? So it has its own blueprint, like, okay, when you're considering for a mortgage loan, okay, I need to check this, what is his salary, what is his credit score, and these are all, some kind of different blueprints designed for mortgage. Okay. And when you go for online banking is having also its own, blueprints. So when you get an online banking, so you consider this user is having account with within our bank, right? So, and that is one of its own property, like, we have to consider it. Okay, those things will be same for everybody. Okay, so online banking is having one kind of blueprint. Now when you go to the credit card, right? So the same way credit card will be also having some different blueprints. Okay, considering in, like, which type of card that we need to give it to him, like MasterCard, Visa card, or something. Okay, and what are all the consideration, what is his salary, how much amount that he was able to pay, or per month, those things, like, very specific things about credit card. Okay, it is having its own blueprint. So what can I say, application is containing very huge number of blueprints, and those blueprints will be having very huge number of objects. So within your what depending on your usage, right? If you are going for the mortgage, you will see a different blueprint. If you going through online banking, you will see a different blueprint. And if you go through the other thing, credit card, you will see a different blueprint and different properties. So combinedly, everything that you are seeing as an application. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
application itself is a big blueprint, okay, of all these small blueprints. Okay, so something like that, you can see as a inheritance concept. Okay, so your application is on the top position, and it is having some properties set to it. Okay, so it has a mortgage, it has a online banking, it has a credit cards, it has something else. Okay, so all those things on top of all these classes and all these blueprints. So it is a blueprint of a blueprint. Okay, so that you can consider as an application.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So yeah, hope you guys don't have any other questions. If you have, yeah, please let me know. Okay, yeah, so then let's meet tomorrow. Okay, with the constructor concept, and I'll cover this code, whatever I've just mentioned, all the access modifiers. Okay, thanks, and bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.